Welcome to the Squared Circle Pit with your host, Rob Pasbani.
Now entering the Squared Circle Pit, he is my KNITRO co-host. I'm so excited to have him back on the pit. Welcome from 2 Minutes to Late Night, Mr. Jordan Olds. Welcome, sir.
Hello, Rob. Good to be back. Good to be back on this show, but also just in general, us talking the graps. It's been a couple months.
Yes, you're one of my favorite people to talk about wrestling with.
Yeah.
And what a way to kick off 2023. Big stories all around. You know, initially when I invited you on, it was to talk about the AEW Worlds End pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Which we will be talking about in detail. But I want to talk about the big story in WWE right now. There's a few of them, but the biggest one is that The Rock is back.
Yeah.
And seemingly back for WrestleMania. I can't imagine they would tease this in such a heavy-handed way without giving us something. Did you see the segment with The Rock and Jinder Mahal?
I haven't, but I can imagine what it's probably like. I think it's...
Yes.
Heel comes out, The Rock makes fun of him and does the rock bottom or whatever. Right?
That's
like,
exactly. That's
yeah.
Like he basically, Jinder came out. He did the anti-American spiel, which I feel is so dated now in wrestling in general. Like, unless it's done ironically, I don't think it really works. But whatever, he did it. And then what was funny is the entire show they were promising a former world champion returns. And then they're like, here it is, folks. Here's the former world champion. And then Jinder's music plays, and the whole crowd goes, oh. and
you
it's
can
a
hear
palpable
the sigh.
Yes. You can hear the sigh. It was so funny. They trolled the crowd so well because then, you know, he's doing this rant. And to his credit, he did a great job getting the crowd to hate him enough so that when The Rock's music hit, people lost their shit. It was a huge pop, something we don't really see too much anymore in WWE. And then as a longtime fan, I was a little indifferent, let's say. I'm trying not to be too rude, to The Rock's shtick, because it just feels like it's like the same joke. It's like the same material. It's like a greatest hits of like all of his insults and whatever. And like, let's just get through it. And the show was called Day One. So The Rock called Jinder a day one douchebag. And then he was like, this part of the crowd, say day one. This part of the crowd, say douchebag. And seriously, they could have gone for like half an hour, but The Rock had to stop them. They were so into it.
Yeah.
The crowd was super into it, so you can't really hate on it too much. But, you know, after beating up Jinder, like you said, giving the rock bottom, people's elbow, he's about to leave, and he goes, you know, The Rock's feeling a little hungry. Should The Rock eat at a booth? Should The Rock eat at the bar, or should The Rock eat at the head of the table? And then the crowd, oh my God, finally, he said the Roman Reigns line.
That's so funny because, like, what is that restaurant like? Like, what restaurant is he? That can,
There's only
like,
one table.
Those options, booths, the bar, and a long table. That's the Cheesecake Factory, baby. That's only one. There's only one restaurant that has all those options, and that's it. Each Cheesecake Factory has like a long table, and then it's all booths, and then they do have a bar.
Maybe it's like there's just one communal table in this restaurant, and he wants to specifically sit at the head.
If you want to know what The Rock is cooking, it's apparently all the cuisines, because that's the entire Cheesecake Factory menu. It's vast.
Menu.
Yeah. The pie is actually cheesecake.
It's a
Do you like pie? Guess what, The Rock? That's cheesecake. Cheesecake Factory.
And so now it's safe to assume, I feel, you know, that The Rock is going to be at WrestleMania. I don't think they would have brought him back in January if they hadn't secured something. And so the question here is, well, what happens with Cody Rhodes? They've been building up the story for over a year now of Cody Rhodes finishing the story. I feel like you and I both thought he should have won at WrestleMania this past year. And he could, he could have won at WrestleMania, had a 6-month, 8-month title reign, lost it back to Roman Reigns a few months ago, at Survivor Series or whatever. And then boom, we're right back where we are right now. And it's fine. And Cody finished the story and we could have this Rock thing. Now you kind of have fans being like, well, wait, what about Cody? And you don't really want that with The Rock.
When Cody lost last year, I was like, yeah, all right, they're not going to do it. A lot of people were like, oh, they'll do it next year. And I'm in my head, I'm like, that makes less sense. Because if you're just going to, if that wasn't the moment, then it's just, in my view, it's not really his time. They're going to try to, like, only a few months after this WrestleMania, Roman will beat Hulk Hogan's record, right? Like, that's what'll happen.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
I think it's the summer.
In the summer, great. Let him do it. I let him beat the record because that's what matters to them now. Doing the Rock match makes a ton of sense. I know that people are like Roman, there's no chance The Rock wins or whatever. Who cares? If you have the chance to do you have the Roman match is not for work rate. It's the marquee, biggest. They have to do this. It's 40. It has. People are like, it doesn't need the title. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Get out of here. Like, it's not about like wrestling story. Finish the story. They don't care. They don't care about that. CM Punk and Rollins is going to be the work rate title match, and that'll be great. And we have that. That's to feed that's their, we're going to feed you, baby birds. But we also got to do, they care about their record books. They care about their moments. And I think the best example I've thought about why the moments matter to them is Mankind versus The Undertaker, Hell in the Cell. Most casual people who have just seen wrestling, they say, oh, my favorite wrestling match, Mankind versus The Undertaker. That's not a wrestling match.
Right.
It's not a match at all. Like, the Undertaker's a broken foot.
Show.
They throws like, it's not really, people don't even care about the fact that almost no wrestling happened, or it was just kind of two moments, and one of them was where something went wrong. It doesn't matter to them. They want just the fact of seeing Roman Reigns and The Rock in a ring is what they want.
Yeah, sometimes the wrestling gets in the way of what WWE fans want, which is, like you said, the moments. Like, the wrestling is pretty secondary. I'm with you in general too. Like, I don't care if Cody doesn't finish. Like, who cares? In general, like the last few years, I've detached myself completely from WWE storylines in the sense of like, oh, this is where it should go. I no longer invest myself that hard, and then I won't find myself disappointed. Instead it'd be like, instead I find myself sometimes pleasantly surprised.
Well, here's the thing: if Cody's if Cody is the guy for them, what's another year? He already lost at the thing. He won the Rumble.
Yeah,
it'll be boring to. It's groan inducing to do it like 2 years in a row. So fuck yeah, do the Rock match. Absolutely, it's
a much bigger match.
40. It's WrestleMania 40. Rollins and Punk is the night before. There's going to be other stuff. You can, if Cody's really the guy, he can make it another year. That's really it. If you eventually want him to be the guy who takes over next, I've never totally seen it. He's so charismatic, but the character he has turned into, I loved early AEW Cody, but the more it has become like this like a weird patriotic like Captain America thing, it feels dated to me. It feels like it doesn't, just as Jinder Mahal doesn't really fit in modern times. I don't think that this Cody gimmick does either. I think he's very talented. I'm sure he'll eventually be champion.
He's very over, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What's the age difference between like him and a Roman Reigns at this point? You know?
I'd say, yeah, it's not that. He's only a few years younger. I believe Cody is like 37, 38. Roman is like 42, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I think. I think he'll get his time, but I think that I think that there's someone.
I agree. There's no rush.
Better. Yeah,
because also it's like once you give him the title, what else is he doing? You know, and honestly, I don't think he cares. He just signed a new huge like 5-year extension where I think he's gotten the most money he's ever made in his life. He's flying on private jets. He's taken care of, and as far as WWE is concerned, he's their top guy. Like on the house shows, like positioning wise, obviously Roman Reigns is the top, but he's never there. He's not. He's like a part timer now. He's essentially Brock Lesnar now.
Right.
So Cody is the number one full time guy easily. So it doesn't really matter that he doesn't have the title. And and like you said, this is WrestleMania 40. It's their big marquee event, and WrestleMania. I've said this so much. WrestleMania is not for wrestling fans. It's not for WWE. WrestleMania is for casual fans. It's for them to rope in mainstream media. It's for them to get people. It's them getting people to watch the one wrestling show casual fans watch a year. Totally. That's what WrestleMania is for. SummerSlam is for like the diehards, I feel. That's where they really have the work rate matches and whatever, and like less on the special appearances. But this is all about bringing in the celebrities, getting the, ESPN coverage. And look, The Rock is a huge celebrity, one of the biggest celebrities in the world. So if he's going to be involved in this, and, this is their first year with TKO, they want to look good to their new bosses. It makes all the sense in the world that this is the match. And like the Cody match, it feels like a repeat right now.
It's a repeat. And it also just, I don't know. I know people are like, oh, Roman's not there. That sucks. I'm like, of course he's not there. They have his title reign they care about this number so much. The number of days that he holds it. Look at everything that's happening. There's so many injuries right now. They cannot let this guy get injured. He's going to wrestle slow, boring matches until he's dropping the title. Like, maybe when he drops the title, he'll go fucking all in and do an insane work rate match. But right now, he cannot get injured.
No, I don't think I don't think he needs to.
He's going to wrestle as few times as possible because he cannot get injured. That's the way it is.
Absolutely. And also, we don't know how broken down his body is in general just because he hasn't been as active, who knows how much he could really go.
Exactly. Well, so you do have Cody as like Cody's the top babyface. That's great. I mean, we'll see what happens with like CM Punk, because Punk's return is doing, I think, more numbers than they expected.
Absolutely, yeah. He sold out the Garden. Like once they added him to the Garden show, it sold out. Same with the LA show at the Forum.
Yeah,
they were selling really well already. They were on a good pace. But as soon as they announced him, like for the Garden, I know he pushed 4,000 tickets, that's insane. That's a lot. Like not too many people can do that nowadays.
I think he's a bit weirdly the drama surrounding Punk shenanigans has been bad for I think the wrestling business, but it's been nothing but good for him as like an entity, because the oh my gosh with him adds so much that I think it added to the hype of his return.
Absolutely. And I think, one thing I didn't really consider, because I am, I'm so in it.
Yeah.
Is that like, oh, wow. See, when CM Punk came back to WWE, I was like, wow, this is so huge. He jumped ship from AEW. Like, that's how I saw it. But I quickly realized for a lot of fans, the majority of WWE fans, they did not watch him in AEW at all. This is the first time they're seeing CM Punk in 10 years. And it's a much bigger deal for them than maybe for me, just because I had just seen him, for 2 years or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, you get both, right? You get...
Yeah.
You get the people who, wow, I haven't seen him in 10 years. And then you have the people who are like, I can't believe this is happening.
Yes, that was my take. I was just like, wow, I never assumed this. The only time I started assuming that this would happen is 6 months ago when he started showing up backstage or whatever. I was like, wow, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Time heals all wounds.
I think it makes a ton of sense. He's great.
I'm very happy for him. I'm a huge, both of us are huge Punk fans. We were always, I feel like, the ones defending him in our group chats. And so
he's so much fun. He makes, like, I don't know, every feud he has some heat to it, which is the most fun. Like, all of his AEW feuds had so much intrigue because of, like, the what if implication. Like, regardless, I don't know what happened backstage. Neither of us know. We can't know.
Yeah.
But the magic of it is each of his feuds, because of the, oh, wow, they all have the same type of heat that him going into 2011 Money in the Bank did, because the real life implications added so much intrigue to the match. But he had that in almost every feud. Like, oh my God, do these guys fucking hate each other? Did they really? What's gonna happen?
Yeah,
and that's unbelievable.
When he came back for Collision, I feel there was another thing of like, this might be the last time we see him. Right, like every match was like, this might be his last match. So let's take it in. And then it was, he was only in for 2 months or whatever it was.
I'm curious, and that automatically happened with Seth. That's his first feud, and out the gate, people we're talking about Seth being pissed off, and that automatically makes people want to see that match more.
It's what you were saying earlier. Like, he is perfect for WWE because he is not the best wrestler. He's not the most athletic person, but he's very creative. He absolutely understands wrestling and being a wrestling fan and how to work wrestling fans and get them excited. And I think that's why he fits so much better in WWE because of that.
Well, I mean, we will see. I liked his AEW run. I he doesn't.
I just don't think he wanted to be there.
Totally.
Yeah, I think he just was. It was like, I think when he got there, he was like, obviously happy I'm back. People are accepting me, yada yada. But then he was like, I think he was very used to the big corporate structure of WWE, which didn't really exist in AEW because it's a much smaller company. Yeah, and he was almost longing for that corporate machine to be behind him, I feel,
or to fight against, because then he fights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But when you fight against this machine, it's just a couple of guys. So it's an odd situation. But I think having the best moveset or choreography is not necessarily, like, everyone's good at wrestling nowadays. Everyone talks about how everyone's a good wrestler, but putting together like an exciting match is his bread and butter. Like, he gets a reaction one way or the other. Like, when we were at Forbidden Door together, watching him make something out of the Kojima match, which is not what the match was supposed to be, but they were like, we got to get him on the card. And he was like, well, I'm just going to get heat the whole time. And people are reacting whether that's the match they wanted him to have or not, which is the man understands the job. He understands the assignment. And I'm entertained every time.
That's a great point. Like, nobody really knew who Kojima was. It was very much an AEW crowd at Forbidden Door, but because Punk knew about all the heat, like, he used all the heat that he has to make it an exciting match. Like, he was doing Hogan and Cena spots.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. It's great. He has a great he reads the room extremely well, except for when he tried to drop the note about punching people in the face to the military audience. That
Yes.
didn't work.
That was weird.
But I think that was also a weird crowd. But that's like other than
I
that,
think they just don't know what he saw. They don't follow AEW. I think that's what it was. They didn't know his history.
It
was poorly delivered.
But most of the time when he's coming out there, he knows exactly how to get the crowd to react to something, which that'll do more than all the suicide dives you want to do.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about AEW Worlds End. We talk about AEW a little bit. They had their final pay-per-view of the year. I am so happy that there is a December pay-per-view. I feel like the last few years, there's been a huge drought in December of something to look forward to, because everything it would just be on the AEW side for Revolution, which is still months away, and with WWE, they're just waiting for Royal Rumble. So it was cool that they had this, and I loved the Continental Classic. It's been some of the best stuff AEW has done all year. Yet, this pay-per-view was about an hour drive away from me, and I did not feel compelled to get out there, to drive out there, probably because of our experience at Forbidden Door being so fatigued by the end of it.
Yeah.
Because Jordan and I actually attended Forbidden Door live in Tirana. And while some of the matches were great, the overall experience was very taxing. So I did not want to go to this. I was so glad to watch this on my couch. I actually made it through the whole event. I made sure to drink some espresso, so I was wired. And just a quick review before we kind of get into the matches. I thought that the first half or so was kind of just an episode of Dynamite, really, nothing pay-per-view worthy. I feel like this pay-per-view was missing a little bit of work rate. And part of the reason is because it's the first pay-per-view to not feature Kenny Omega, who's injured. I hope he takes care of himself. I don't want him to rush. Or Hangman, who is not injured, but storyline injured. Or the Young Bucks, where I don't know what the hell's going on with them. And you definitely felt that in the mid-card. Yeah, the entirely you felt it, because there wasn't that big awesome match in the middle of the card. It was only until we got to Adam Copeland against Christian, which was great, that I felt like even the crowd wasn't into it until that point. What was your kind of overall review of the show?
I think that they've had an uphill battle. I don't know, since the news of All In fudging the numbers. I feel like that's the biggest hit. It was the Punk drama they were yeah, okay, but we still have the biggest selling show, and then it's it's, and I think it's been hard for them. I haven't watched regularly since All In. And I think you can feel that momentum all the way to this show, because there's injuries, there's controversy, there's all the backstage rumor and badness. So I think you can kind of feel that through. I think the audience is a little fatigued. The show looked packed.
It was sold out.
It was so incredible. Good for them. But I think the top of the card, it's I forget. I can't even tell you what the first couple of matches were, but I do know that the show turned around for me with the Tony Storm match. Actually, you know what? The opening match had a lot of heat. The
Andrade versus Miro?
No, the 8-man tag.
The 8-man. Yeah, no, that was good.
It was very good. And I think you got to give it kind of Brody King is having, I think people are not talking about how he's having a Swerve-like ascension in popularity.
Yeah. He's
he's
the next one up.
People are doing the barks. That vertical suplex was unbelievable. Claudio giving him a vertical suplex, stalling, looked insane. I've never seen a man that big be able to take that move. He was doing all kinds of moves, him yelling at like Daddy Magic.
Like whatever this feud they're setting up. I like that, how he beat him up after.
People were focused on that. They were interested in it, and I think it really brought a lot of focus to that match because there wasn't a lot of Bryan Danielson in that match, shockingly. But I think Claudio doing a lot of I think it got the crowd excited, and then I think Andrade was not giving it his all because he wants to leave or whatever. Also, it was confusing, the motive.
Well, yeah, I like the 8-man tag because it felt like very New Japan. How at the end of like the G1, they just have all the tournament people in there, like, and it makes sense just because they've been wrestling each other. And the downside is that you took away really talented people from potential singles matches later on, like a Jay Lethal and a Bryan Danielson. But at the same time, I'm glad Bryan Danielson got sort of a night off because he has this big match with Okada later this week. And the last thing they needed was him to I cannot believe how hard he went this tournament with his busted orbital bone. He has been having insanely great matches. He hasn't had one bad match since coming back. So it's been really cool. Let's quickly I want to quickly go through the pre-show. I don't know if you watched it. Not much happened. It was Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale. This is just a total rampage match. Nothing happened. Willow won. There was a battle royal for the #1 contendership for the TNT Championship. It was a fun pre-show match. I love a pre-show battle royal. I always feel like my backstage nerd is like, oh, this is so great. Like, give these people a few minutes in front of the crowd. Like, these guys deserve some time. Yeah.
I like that. And I like that Andy and Danhausen got a couple of spots together, which was a lot of
exactly.
Fun.
Yeah, like it gets like the mid card guys over, and I like that they didn't need to throw in main eventers either to give these guys the spot.
Also,
and then,
it tied into the main show pretty well. Also, shout out Chris and Willow. They had some flubs, but for the most part, they had like 15 minutes. You know, they got a long match, and they did a lot while people were literally walking in.
Exactly. I was going to say it's the toughest spot because half the arena is empty. Half people are just focusing on getting to their seats. So you're not getting the full attention of the crowd.
And
with that said, they did okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Then
awesome. It was Hook versus Wheeler Yuta in an FTW match. I kind of didn't like this. In this, like, I like both of these guys. I don't think they came through here. Yuta started with basically a Jinder Mahal promo on Long Island. And then these horns went off. Nobody in the arena knew what the hell was going on, but they're the Islanders' horns. And this is the Islanders' home venue. And nobody picked up on what happened there. Hook comes out. Hook has to stop getting tattoos. Too many tattoos on that pretty chest of his. Leave your chest alone.
Let him do it. I think it's fun that they all look like stick and poke.
Yes.
They're crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's just like he lets his friends test out tattooing on him.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think it's fun that there's one guy on the roster who's like, nah, I don't do shop work. That's great. That's awesome.
It just felt like it was like a nothing kind of street fight. Like, I don't think these two worked well with these having to do a street fight. It might have been better as just a regular match.
I thought like some of it was fun. I was watching with people who don't regularly watch, so they were having fun seeing like trash cans and stuff. They were like, "Oh, I didn't know that wrestling had trash cans." So I think for newer folks, maybe that was interesting. I think that Yuta still kind of isn't there yet on the mic. Like he clearly forgot to say something before he said his big punchline, and it really threw him off. And I think it really took the heat. I think that promo and people not understanding the Islanders horns took the heat out of it. Also, Hook is not from Long Island, so what? Like, he's
he's built from St. Mark's Place, but he did grow up in Long Island. That's the crazy thing.
Okay,
but he's built from the village,
and he's named after Red Hook. So
yeah, because Red Hook is where Taz is from. Yeah,
right. So that's a lot of. I think people were really confused about like what's going on. But I think that made them have to kind of work up to it. I think maybe Yuta should. I think it would be fun to have Yuta work on promos, like have him keep doing it. But maybe have like Claudio there to beat him up when he fucks up. Like to sell the gimmick that they're really teaching him how to be a wrestler. Because he's had a couple of promos where he's trying to just be a heel and shit on the audience, and it's not working.
Yeah,
so maybe
I don't buy it.
help.
He seems like too nice of a guy.
He's a sweetheart. So if you have a guy like hitting him when he's being a heel wrong or whatever, that's the gimmick anyway. They're doing it with his wrestling, so they should do it with all aspects of it. It'll give him more mic time, and it'll put the energy back in the room when it doesn't work for him. But I don't know. I think it's I think you gotta take these younger guys gotta get in the ring. Like the guys who are not on TV all the time, like they need the exposure. Cause like there's Hook does a match and then he disappears for a while, and I guess he's training or whatever, but I don't know. The best
totally agree.
The exposure is only going to help, and these are the guys that you need. Like you're investing in them, and you got to keep doing it for them to stay hot.
Well, one guy they're no longer investing in is Andrade El Idolo, who this was his last night in the company, and he faced the Redeemer Miro, and this was the match where I remembered that Long Island crowds. Kind of not the best. You really got to give them something. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting on their butts. The crowd did not like this match. I wouldn't even say that these guys were being lazy. They were working hard, but it was not the style of match that the crowd wanted to see. The storyline, very confusing. And I say this as someone who loves all three competitors. The third competitor being CJ Perry, hot and flexible.
Yeah.
And also just with, the story already came out that Andrade was leaving. So it was very easy to figure out who was taking the loss. And I think CJ kind of messed up the finish a little bit when she went to make sure that Andrade didn't get the win. Ultimately, I don't think this match achieved what it tried to achieve, but I'm happy they finally got to CJ Perry with Miro. I hope that this means that she's finally managing him, while at the same time, I think it would be really hilarious if on Saturday she just starts approaching other guys like, hey, do you want to be my new client? And like it just keeps the cycle going of like a dumb baby face being like, yeah, sure. And then like Miro beats them up. There's a part of me that thinks that would be hilarious, but I hope they just give Miro like an actual meaty storyline. I'm afraid that they don't want to do that because from what I hear, the speculation is he's not a fan of losing. And so they don't want to give him too many programs because he's very selective with who he's willing to be pinned by.
Well, I think they didn't. I think they cut his legs off when he was having the best run. Like when he was doing the original Redeemer with the TNT title, like that shit was just getting started. It felt like, and they chopped his legs off. He was having incredible matches. There was a moment where he was everybody's. There was like a month where Redeemer Miro was everyone's favorite. And I think for him, it feels so similar to like Rusev Day, where it's like, fuck, stop cutting my leg. Like, I'm just getting started with this. And you got to let me get the heat. I understand that they wanted to start this Darby Allin run, but Darby Allin, already had a lot of heat. It felt like they made the decision because it was Seattle or something. I don't know. But I can see him wanting, he's like, I have to, you got to let me heat back up again before I lose. I can, it sucks to not want to lose. I don't know how this works, but I can kind of see like, listen, I did the big drop and then I disappeared. So I don't trust you with my build if you're going to have me lose out the gate, because he's trying to build up his character. But then at the same time, it's like, well, you're not going to get on TV. So I understand where he's coming from. I think that we've seen that because of Rusev Day and the Redeemer, that he's got a lot to offer, and he's creative and he's a lot of fun. And I think, I don't know. He can have great matches. The match he had with Hobbs at All Out was so fun. The meat match. And what was great is they reacted to the crowd. You know, they saw the crowd was into these meat chants, so they kept doing the back and forth. I think that's so good, and he could be that. I almost wish, you know how WWE had like the 205 Live Cruiserweight division? I wish AEW had a super heavyweight division of just like a 305 Live. Honestly,
of just
not a bad idea.
So fun. Yeah, just the meat division.
Anybody over 250, get him in.
Then we had the women's championship match, Timeless Toni Storm with Luther the Butler versus Riho, who is, I'm so impressed with how Riho can, much like Miro, be gone for fucking 9 months and show up, and the crowd love. Like, she's so good at garnering positive reactions from crowds. How did your friends who don't watch wrestling react to this match and Rio in general?
They really loved it. I think Toni Storm was like, I had friends in my house watching. I had friends at the show watching it for the first time. Like, it was their first live wrestling show. Toni Storm, across the board, everyone's favorite character. Everyone was so into it. They were like, this is fun. She's a good wrestler. Characters like Toni Storm are what get people into wrestling for the first time. It was unbelievable. But they also loved Riho because they're like, this wrestler is crazy. She is dressed like Christina Aguilera in 2002. This fucking rocks.
Yeah. Yeah, the Toni Storm outfit was so, I love how she's doing this like old-timey outfit, you know, like how the women wrestlers of like the 50s dressed. Like, she's really figuring out her character, I think. And really, like, I just didn't think it's way too early to have Toni lose the title, especially with Mariah May. I feel like they're setting up that feud. Toni
needs to carry the title until the women are getting more matches on every show. Yeah. Like, I think like until because she's the biggest attraction in that division. I think also, as we've seen, biggest attraction for new fans, because everyone understands what she's doing. It's easy to translate that character to also like a Hollywood, a golden age Hollywood meltdown to wrestling as well. It makes it more familiar. It's unique. It's fun. The matches are fun. The combination of Toni doing like goofy old timey wrestling spots and also television shtick, like and now a break and now a word from our sponsors, like that type of shit is great. Mixed with her like stardom repertoire, it's awesome. It's perfect. Yeah, ultimately she's a great wrestler, and she has the added layer of putting this character on top of her great wrestling, which I think works. Yeah. The one wrench here could be Mercedes Moné coming in. There's a rumor that she might be debuting as soon as this week's Dynamite. And
I feel like her versus a Mercedes versus Tony Storm is a bit of a dream match.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't rush into it. I hope they don't need Mercedes to win the women's title in her first match. She should climb up the ranks, you know.
Sure. But she's also I think Mercedes is also just one of those proven draws. Like I know like we have friends who only show up to watch Mercedes. Like
yeah. Absolutely.
Like the people that got me into wrestling are like, is Mercedes wrestling? No? Okay, I'm not watching. Like, it's not, she makes a ton of business sense.
Yes.
However much money she's asking for, it probably is not enough. It's probably too little.
I agree. They can make a lot with her. They can get a whole new audience with her.
Yeah.
But if they do bring her, they really do have to be serious about the women's division. Give them time. Give them multiple angles of show. It can't just be her story and Tony's story. You know, like there needs to be a division.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing she clearly cares about like Willow, and the fact that in the match that she had with Willow, where she was like, "Fuck, I'm injured. Beat me."
Yeah.
I haven't been beaten. Beat me and win the title. She clearly cares more about the world of women's wrestling than herself, because she could have just beat her and then relinquished the next day. I think a lot of people would have done that.
Then we have Swerve versus Dustin Rhodes. Keith Lee, unfortunately, too injured to compete. I was very sad because this was one of the matches I was really, really looking forward to. And I don't really like what they ended up doing here. They started the match with Swerve breaking a cinder block over Dustin's knee, breaking his knee, and then he spent 10 minutes working a comeback match, even doing a Canadian Destroyer, which how do you do that with a broken knee? You know, like, I didn't think this was necessary. I thought they should have just you knew Swerve was winning. Swerve is on the ascent. He is, in my opinion, going to be world champion this year, or he should be if they're smart.
Yeah.
So he could have just beat him. I feel like he could have beat him in like 2 minutes. They didn't need to do this whole match, especially because of how long the show is going already.
I think when they started having the match, I was with you. I was like, this doesn't seem like a good idea. Like, just do the knee spot and get out, get him heat and leave. But honestly, when I thought they had a lot of fun, and it showed it, like, again, a new people watching, they got to see Swerve's cool fucking moveset. And I think I think that the wrestling logic doesn't make sense. Like, oh no, he broke the knee. But I think for most people looking past that, they kind of did some fun spots. And I think that people were not expecting Dustin to actually do the match. So I think it went from like, oh. All right,
yeah,
good. Not bad.
I mean, it was good for what it was. I just didn't think we needed it.
We sure didn't. But I think also you want to feature the wrestling of a guy that you're really trying to put over as like one of the big stars. And his wrestling style is very unique. And I think showing that he's vicious and that he's good at taking a babyface comeback, all that shit. Like, it's all showing you want it to be a showcase for Swerve at the end of the day.
Yeah. Then we had the most awkward match of the show, the 8-man tag with Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby Allin versus Big Bill, Ricky Starks, Takeshita, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Now, the reason for the awkwardness is that all weekend there was gossip on Twitter about Chris Jericho's extracurricular activities. And there were a few tweets. One from Nick Hausman kind of intimated that Jericho makes people sign NDAs, which others took to assume women to sign NDAs that he's slept with. And other people put together that when a woman wrestler named Kylie Ray quit the promotion a few years ago, it may have been because of a rumor that Chris Jericho made an advance towards her. The rumor was that after her match, he invited her into a room where she assumed there would be other people. It was only him and her. Now, there's only a rumor on Twitter that like there was only her and him, and she got freaked out and she ran out, and it was enough for her to want to quit the company. And the only confirmation we have of this is when people posted these allegations and screenshots of the details of the story, Kylie Ray responded to one of these with a heart emoji, essentially in Twitter speak, endorsing what was being said. So this got trending on Twitter all day. It was the top story on Twitter, like all of Twitter, even beating like dumb Trump stories. So people knew about it. And I feel like, as happens in New York, half the crowd knows about it, half the crowd doesn't. And then the half that does informs the ones that don't, and everyone's in on it. And everyone was in on it by the end. When the match started, a good amount of people sang along with Judas, but you could tell that there were boos. And as the match went on, they were cheering everybody but Chris Jericho. It was very awkward. Yeah, and I think it sucked for Sting, because this was Sting's last match in New York, and it's overshadowed by this Chris Jericho drama.
Yeah, man. I think that's. I think the backstage drama overshadowing stuff is a problem for AEW in general, and it's a real shame. It is the reason that I'm not watching regularly, because I'm like, I got my own shit, man. This is an escape for me. The whole point of this is I'm watching a play. I don't give a fuck about, like, when I go to Broadway, I don't give a fuck about what anyone is doing when they're not in the play. And it is annoying. But it is also like, these are problems. If there is an abuse of power, that's fucking awful, because that's the biggest problem with it, is that it's the top guy. It's the top guy in the whole company. Like, he is the reason. Everything that was written in the MJF article is true about Chris Jericho. Like, he legitimized the entire company. And if people see it that way, him using that influence, like backstage to make advances at people, like asking for consent or not, just even the act of doing it is the abuse of power.
Yes,
because people are if you're making an advance on somebody, they're not just. It feels like their job is at stake with it, and that is the problem. This was gonna happen. That's how wrestling is. So they put him out there with Sting. Like, maybe remove Sting and have Sting do something else if you don't want, because if you don't want the Sting moment to get overshadowed. But like, whatever you did with Chris Jericho, this was gonna happen. It was gonna be the top part of it. It was so awkward because everyone in the ring is acting like it's not happening. And that's always the weirdest part of wrestling, is when they are acting like the crowd is not there. It's the worst part of, like, it's what WWE does. That's kind of at least my least favorite thing, is when they pretend that the crowd isn't booing or whatever, or is reacting.
Bizarro world.
Yeah. Or they're like, oh my God. And it's like, no one cares. So yeah, it was always going to be awkward if you put Chris Jericho out there. But you also, these are rumors. So you can't, I understand the corporate decision to not pull somebody based on rumors, but also I'm a person. I'm not a corporate. Corporations are bad. So I like, I don't totally give a shit about that. But yeah, man. I eventually, like, I started doing other stuff because I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable watching it. So
it was uncomfortable. I agree. It's a bummer, like you said, AEW is supposed to be the company that was against this kind of stuff, but
yeah,
we'll see how it shakes out. I don't like how they're handling it though.
I don't like how they're. They've shown that they're just. It sucks watching this stuff kind of unfold, especially around Sting. Like the Ric Flair stuff eats up. It should be more about Sting, and regardless of the rumors of these of men being gross, like all that shit aside, them just being a part of Sting's bullshit sucks because it should be about him.
Yeah.
Sting is the nicest guy in wrestling, and he's just trying to retire. He's trying to have a nice time, and it should be a big deal because he, at one time, was like the biggest guy in wrestling. He was part of the biggest match in wrestling history, and god damn it, just leave him alone. Let him wrestle. Let him have his moment. Get away. Get these weird, blonde, creepy men away from him.
Then we have the TBS title match. We have Julia Hart versus Abaddon. Two women I'm very much rooting for. Yeah. I'm so glad that they're finally featuring Abaddon. This, I believe, was their first pay-per-view match. And Abaddon, I think, has endless potential. Like, I love the character. They've gotten so much better in the ring. I feel like they're really figuring out their look and the character in general. And Julia Hart has been such a delight. A few months ago, I was very much like, I could take it or leave it with Julia Hart. But now I love the whole shtick. I feel like she's, like you said, like Brody's on the ascent. I feel like she's very much on the ascent too. The crowd is really taking to her. And I think it's really cool.
I think the House of Black works. I mean, I'm biased, but I think I think even with all that they are doing with Brody and Julia, it's not enough because they're so unique in both their looks, their character, but it's authentic. I think that House of Black has worked with Julia to figure out her version of being part of that stable in a way that's genuinely her. And you're seeing that, and that's why it really works now. They gave her an opportunity to figure things out. They weren't just like, here, like, listen to Amun-Ra and get into it. Like, she has her own thing. Like, what's your version of being like a dark character? And it took a while, but now it's paying. It's because, of course, it did. Like, she's not,
because she believes it.
But now
it's natural for her. Yeah.
Now she believes it. Now she figured out, like, she's figured out all the pieces. She's the champion. She has a fun moveset. I think that it's paid off in spades. And I think if you do more with all those guys, like, they should be, I can't believe they're all not on all the main shows all the time.
Yeah, I don't like that they're always just on Collision. I guess Julia's on both shows, but it seems like House of Black is exclusively on Collision, and I think that's limiting them. They should be all over the place. They should be just the spooky faction that gets in everyone's faces.
I think originally when it was, I think they based the concept of you have to watch us on Saturdays, which had more ammo when CM Punk was around and on that show.
Agreed.
But now CM Punk is gone. And also Brian is hurt. And Brian doesn't have storylines. Brian just wrestles. So it's not as must-see. And thus, I think they're getting... I feel like it's just... You should always have something for those guys to do story, because naturally they can give anyone a good storyline without a title, or it's fun to have them have the titles because they seem unbeatable, and they also are representing they're also really authentic. The only authentic spooky faction. That's insane.
That's a good point. Exactly. they are quite. No one's calling them posers.
No, it's the only time it's ever happened. Like the Undertaker himself is like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not a spooky guy.
Right. Then we have the crescendo of the evening, the TNT Championship, the Patriarch Christian Cage with Mother Wayne and Nick Wayne against the Rated R Superstar Adam Copeland. I think these two did an incredible job. At this point, it's getting late. It's like 10:30. The crowd is tired, typically, like ready for bed. Most pay-per-views, this would be the main event spot, but there was still 3 more matches to go. And I thought they did an incredible job. Like, these are two 50-year-old veterans. Of course, they're going to do great. Of course, they know how to put together an exciting match when they have the benefit of doing a no DQ match with the smoke and mirrors of tables and everything. And I thought they laid the match out brilliantly, going into the crowd, getting the We Want Tables chant, delivering on the We Want Tables chant by giving them tables. So naturally the crowd one-ups it to We Want Fire. And they were so smart. They knew exactly how the crowd was going to react. And they eventually gave them fire.
Yeah. Well, Edge teased it by wearing his outfit that he wore when he did a fire spot another time.
Right, yes. He wore the same outfit that he wrestled Mick Foley in for WrestleMania, I believe 22, where they had maybe the best hardcore match in WrestleMania history. And the finale of that match was there was a flaming table on the floor, and Edge speared Mick through the ropes. Mick was on the outside apron, through the ropes into the table. It was a crazy spot. He could have burned his face off, but he didn't. This time he was a little smarter. He didn't go through the fire. He made the young boy go through the fire. Yeah. Dumped him on that table like yesterday's trash. Yeah. I thought this was a very, very fun match. I don't have much to criticize. They did just enough. They didn't do anything that felt like too violent, like the Staples last month.
Loved
Hangman
the
Page.
Staples. I
loved it, but it really felt like, oh no, you can't fake this. This is real.
It would be it'd be weird with these older gentlemen.
Yes.
These both of them are very capable. Adam, I think, has I think has shown, like, with his last WWE run, like, he's good in the ring, but he doesn't always have his finger on the pulse of what's gonna work anymore, or what is corny or whatever. Like, it's not, which is how it should be, because he's a man in his late 40s. Like, it's not gonna happen. Christian is always able to make whatever he's in work. He has, since he started working with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, he has not fucked up once. Every match works. I can't think of a moment that didn't work out better than I expected in his entire run so far. An incredible TNT champion. The ending, I thought, was so fun and stupid. Mostly fun, but it's perfect for his character. I think you give that ending to any other bad guy and it wouldn't work. If it wasn't Christian, I think the weird contract switch stuff, it means also a lot to Edge and Christian, I'd say. Like, because that's the type of shit that they are known for.
Absolutely, because I feel like Adam Copeland needed to win this match since Christian won the last one. But also, there's still plenty of juice in this feud. And if Edge or Adam is the champion, it doesn't really quite work as well with Christian chasing, the heel chasing the face. So I like that they, show that Edge clearly can defeat Christian. He is the better professional wrestler, but Christian is much more cunning and much more deceiving. And I thought that the gimmick with the contract was perfect. I didn't even.
So great.
I like that they didn't really go into too much detail that you can cash the contract in at any time. I like that they did the Money in the Bank thing with it because it is contrived. It is WWE-esque, bullshit booking,
but
so
that's
to speak.
their
But
bullshit.
yes, and also it works for Christian. It's the same reason I love the ending of WrestleMania 39 last year with I really believed, I was like, holy shit, Cody's going to do it. He's going to finally win. Like, this is it. The 3 crossroads in a row. He's going to win. And then out of nowhere, Solo, boom, 1, 2, 3, it's over. And I was so mad and I was so happy that they were able to get me to emotionally invest that way. I felt the same way here. Like, wow, they totally got me here because oh, boo that Christian, you scoundrel.
I can see why people were more mad about the 39 thing because they ejected Solo.
Right.
You got to treat the "you're out of here" as gospel because that happened in the Tony Storm match.
Right.
Like her butler, he's gone, and then they just come back, and then it's like, well, why did that? None of that even mattered. You can do contrived nonsense, but it's gotta. I think that this was just the right amount. Christian knows how to do this shit. And it works with everything that's happening. The weird son bullshit, he's blackmailing a guy who thinks he's a dinosaur. It's all nonsense. But he's the king of absorbing the nonsense and making it work. He is,
and I love that he has a crew. It's good. It's great. Everything is so good in this whole presentation. I think they need to keep going.
I think everything that Christian is doing is justifying what Tony Khan said before he came in. That whole speech that everyone shit on. Christian, what do you mean? This entire run of Christian has been this is why. This is why he's so entertaining. I think he's the best heel that maybe AEW has ever had. He's unbelievable.
Agreed. And I think he's going to have a career for many years after, behind the scenes helping others too, because he's so smart.
He's so smart. His instincts are great. His timing is unbelievable. He and Edge have great chemistry, but him specifically, I see what people were talking about with him. His timing is unbelievable. The way he can just make it all work. He's great. What a talent. I love Christian.
Then we have the finals of the Continental Classic. We have Eddie Kingston against Jon Moxley. Fantastic, strong style, New Japan-like match.
Yeah.
Perfect positioning for this type of match. This was definitely a semi-main event, brawl, fight. It was believable. And both of these guys are at the top of their game. And the right guy won. I kind of thought the Continental Classic title was a little bit of a letdown. It kind of looks like one of those party belts you see ads for on Facebook, like a fantasy football league belt.
I like that it's a little crown for Kingston.
I did like the crown.
I don't know.
I did like the crown.
Dude,
but no, I like the match.
They got so many belts. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need it. That's what I'm saying. It's they didn't really. This whole. I guess I get it, but no, it was great. I thought they did an awesome job, and I loved how the finish came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I did too. I think these guys have incredible chemistry. The fact that this match started with a kiss, great.
So good.
It's beautiful. I think that sets up. I think my favorite wrestling matches are when you know that it's two friends in the ring. That they're gonna have more fun.
Yeah, they're gonna give their bodies to each other more than they would with another opponent because they trust each other more.
Yeah, the second it's two best friends, you're this match is gonna rock.
Yeah,
two guys that love each other, best wrestling match.
Agreed.
Hate each other, it could go either way.
Yeah, hate each other could be a good match too. Funny enough, with a
lot of hate, but it can also be all right.
Yeah. Oh, these guys really. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They hate each other so much they didn't want to do the match.
I do. I think Mox didn't lose anything here by losing, and he doesn't lose ever. So it just made Eddie look really strong. And Mox is Teflon. You know, he could just come and cut a promo on Wednesday or on Saturday or whatever, and he's right back in it. You know, he's right back in the hunt.
Mox has lost a lot these last couple of months. Like he lost.
I guess with the classic, yeah.
He lost in the he lost to Orange
finals.
Cassidy. He lost to Orange Cassidy.
Oh, yeah.
He lost to Phoenix, like in kayfabe world.
right.
Like he's Mox will put you over.
Yeah.
In the right, but he finds a way to keep, like, he's just what he can lose now, and it doesn't matter because he's still John Moxley.
Yeah, they've established him big time. So it's great now that he could kind of pull people up to his level and not lose anything out of it.
Which is, you know, I think how guys like, I don't know if this is the case, but how like guys like Miro are looking at it like, hey, I need to build some shit up before I start losing all over the place.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Or whatever.
Then we have the main event. We have MJF versus Samoa Joe for the World Championship. And I was pretty awake. Typically by the main event, I'm like dozing off. I was very alert. The last two matches definitely kept my attention. And as soon as Adam Cole came out, I was like, okay, he's the devil. Yeah. Okay, it's easy. And I thought the match was pretty good. It was fine. It wasn't like anything. It didn't need to be. Also, Max is super injured right now. He's barely keeping it together. So with that in mind, I thought it was very good. And I actually really liked that the finish kind of came out of nowhere. Yeah. That he was desperate. He was being choked out. His hand was being pulled 3 times. And, you know, Bryce Remsburg pulls the hand the 3rd time, and you're expecting him to, you know, fight out of it, but he doesn't. And even Bryce Remsburg was like shocked, which I liked really much, that he took a second to call for the bell because he couldn't believe that, like, oh, this is it. It's over. And I thought that was the best way to end the match. It made Samoa Joe look like such a kid. Like that, his finisher is the deadliest finisher in AEW. Like once it's locked in with his hooks on your belly, it's over. And I love that. And I love the idea of Samoa Joe as the AEW World Champion. I would have never thought it to be possible 2 years ago, but it's great. He has so many potential opponents. And I think it's a perfect, I hope he's not too quick of a transition champion. I hope they give him some of a reign, but I do feel that the next person in line is Swerve. And I think that would be a good way to crown Swerve.
I love this for Joe. I think Joe is awesome. I think some people felt like the ending came so out of nowhere that it took like the wind out of the match. But when you look back at that match had fun spots. Like the muscle buster on the apron was awesome. Like Max taking that while he's injured as hell is crazy. I thought the devil reveal, even though we knew what it was fun. It worked.
Yeah. Yes. I thought it was well done.
I also don't think it definitely, that you have to surprise people.
Absolutely.
If they know it.
Yeah. That's what I love the most about it, that it was the most obvious answer, because sometimes I feel with wrestling, like they go out of their way to swerve you. And like, this just doesn't make any sense. Like if you could go back and watch, you know,
ironically, that, we're talking about Swerve. Like a lot of this came out of Adam Cole is injured, and so is Max, and like post Grand Slam. I think that this like them going like, all right, we're going with Samoa Joe happens like probably right around there. I'm assuming. I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know, but I think with the state that AEW is in, like. Samoa Joe is exciting for people who already watch AEW. And I think that, you know, when they are when their backs against the wall with stuff, they just go with the next biggest star they have. They lean into trying to engage the fans of wrestling, of like old wrestling that they have. So they're like, Samoa Joe, big Ring of Honor guy. Everybody loves Samoa Joe. Let's go with Samoa Joe. And I think like with them losing so much star power and so much exhaustion, it does make sense to have a guy as the head of the locker room who's like a veteran and everyone respects. I think that is also great. But I think as we're talking, like, I think it's time to, I think maybe making the change faster to the new card is also a better long-term solution. Like, maybe at that moment, Swerve was also hot. Like, it's post Wrestle Dream. He had one crazy match with Hangman Page in the books, and people were already pretty into him and calling for him to win the world title. It could have been, if you switched and had him be like the devil or whatever, it makes sense with his character who's like doing home invasion and like weird plots and running a bunch of guys who keeps running different stables. And I don't know, putting Swerve in this spot and Swerve as world champion as we exit, I think it could work. He's a newer popular guy. It can be seen as a drastic decision, but I don't know. I think highlighting these guys who are getting big reactions as they're getting, like, wrestling works faster nowadays. People get hot really quick and they lose their steam a lot faster than they should because of the way that people react to stuff. But highlighting a guy who's like really getting hot, like if you can plan it where the heat is as hot as it gets, and that's when you're making the bigger decisions, that's beneficial. Also, again, this is a guy who has crossover appeal. If he has the belt, it sucks that they have never like photographed or acknowledged like Swerve at the Grammys or hanging out with hip hop stars outside of the ring. They'll like show him and Rick Ross when they're in the ring, but show him out with, that's how you get more people to watch. If he's out there with the AEW title, they have no choice but to highlight what he's doing. So I don't know. I think these guys that they have that have appeal beyond wrestling are probably who they should go all in on in this time where it's like, all right, we lost the biggest star that we have right now. And I don't think you can turn, Samoa Joe cannot replace CM Punk, and neither can Bryan Danielson. Because their time of being the real star of the show is done, because they're in the later part of their career. You're only going to get that from one of these other guys. You're only going to get it from a Swerve or a Brody King. These guys that are getting genuine heat and have intrigue and are starting and are as hungry.
Yeah, I think they really position themselves well going into 2024. There's a lot of different roads they can go down, and honestly, I'm very excited for Dynamite this week. I'm excited for the soft reset to kind of see where the new programs are, because everyone virtually, like other than Christian and Adam Copeland, everyone's kind of finished their story here. So it's a good time for a reset, maybe a new signing or two. I think this is going to be a very fun year in pro wrestling.
I think it'll be a fun year. I also I want to highlight, I think people are really down on MJF because of the desperate creative didn't totally work coming out of certain stuff. Like, I think that is kind of a bad narrative, because like his run was great. The matches were great. The all in match felt insane. The Danielson match is fucking awesome. But this is a guy that, like, the run is being rewritten, had to be rewritten every single week because of something, you know?
Yeah.
There's all types of shit. Like, clearly, this fall was supposed to be him and CM Punk. Clearly, that was what they wanted to do. And they didn't get to do that. And then they switched to be like, all right, I guess it's him and Adam Cole. Like, the way it was on the fly, so many things got taken away and changed that inevitably it wasn't going to be the best stuff. They couldn't put their best foot forward because it got cut off, honestly. So I think considering, I don't know, he deserves his flowers. It was a sick run, longest champ. He tried his best, sometimes too much, but like, I don't know. I think people are putting this in a Hangman category of title reigns where they don't see it as a good one, but I think that's foolish.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think I'm glad I feel like the last few weeks have been a little too cutesy for me. So I think Joe winning was the right move. Obviously, Max needs time to recover. He's very, very injured. He was very limited in what he can do. So it's going to be a fun run. And I feel like sometimes when they have these moments of injuries, although they've been having a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
It's been kind of crazy. Yeah. Like, I do feel like sometimes they really step it up, though.
Yeah. The last few weeks apparently were too cutesy for sure. But it's also like, what are you going to do? All the guys, like, Adam doesn't have a foot. Like, right. They only have Joe, but they can't have him wrestle Joe, and they have all these secret guys. He's literally treading water. What can he do besides go out there and just like, I'm left with my tricks. I'm left with a mic. I'm just gonna do my stand-up routine or whatever. I'm gonna do I don't know. We're out of stuff because he was like, this is the backup plan. We're on plan E right now.
Yeah.
It was Punk, and then it was Cole, and then it was something else, and now it's Joe. So what are they gonna do? I think I agree with you. I just don't think it's totally his fault. And I think like
No, absolutely not.
Sometimes we just gotta remember that, like, look, it's fake, and we gotta give E for effort at times.
Yeah.
We gotta give E for effort when it's plan E.
I want to give you an E for effort for sitting in with me on this fantastic reunion, light KNITRO reunion.
Light.
It was great. Always fun to talk to you.
Yeah.
And we hope you enjoyed the Squared Circle Pit. Let us know in the comments. You could follow Jordan at 2 Minutes to Late Night, and I'll be tagging him in the posts. So thank you for entering the pit, folks, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.